Hello and welcome to the 69th episode of GeekVerse. I really wanted to live stream that one because I have a nice hoodie, but I am... a jersey. Yeah, a jersey says 69. You know, I'll wear it for the 70th anniversary. It'll be a little... or whatever. I am... the deflated Travis Snell.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Dylan.
Yes, and today, as you've seen by the title, tonight, whenever you listen to this, we are reviewing The Killing Joke. This is officially our last Comic-Con related episode. Had 5 episodes, this is our 6th, and a whole bunch of content. Capping off the weekend with...
Out of 5, this is the 6th?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of a strange way to word it. Like, out of 6, this is the 6th?
It's been a strange night. There's been a lot of things I didn't expect, you know?
I'll try, yeah, okay.
So...
I'll go easy on you tonight.
We're capping it off with the... review of the animated, long-awaited Killing Joke.
Highly anticipated.
Very highly anticipated by myself. I think I actually mentioned in our first or second cast about, that was actually one of our first tidbits. I was talking about, oh yeah, Mark Hamill's doing this.
Oh really?
We are, yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's some back, so I think it was for sure second episode, so we've talked about this for a little while. It's my favorite graphic novel. I'll start with you guys. Emily, what did you think overall?
I don't really know. I guess we can say the second half was what I was expecting, and the rest was just not so much. Don't know what else I can say about that.
For me, obviously there was a disappointing part, I guess you could say. I don't know.
Which was what? We're doing spoilers, by the way. So
spoilers.
yes, we're doing spoilers.
But I just, I feel like we're gonna go through this a little bit at a time, but like. Clearly, it's the additional storyline for me.
I feel like that was for everybody. I know where to start, but I don't know where to start.
Well, let's go from the very beginning then.
So the very beginning...
They have... Well, even... I don't know where you're going, but they have Mark Hamill talking for a bit.
In the very beginning.
And he's talking about getting his role for Star Wars, Luke Skywalker. And then, like... And then it turned into getting the full
basically talking
part
about
of the
his
Joker.
career.
Yeah.
But it was weird because they introduced the movie before they played that part. So
yeah, they had the Warner Brothers had introduce it, and then they had Mark Hamill talk, and it would have been fun.
No, they even had the title come
that's
up
true,
that said The Killing Joke, and then all of a sudden you just got like Mark Hamill talking about Star Wars.
Which it went on for a while, though.
It went on for a long time. That seemed like something like
it
special features of an DVD,
It wasn't like, and then right after Star Wars, I started to do the Joker. It was like, he talked about, like, getting the Star Wars script and all this, like, stuff that, like, if you're not a Star Wars fan, you're there for Killing Joke, it's like, I don't give a damn about this. And I am, but it's like...
It's like a short enough movie, too, right? Like, the actual movie itself. So it's like, it was, I don't know. That was unnecessary, for sure.
So they did that, and then apparently there was something about the soundtrack after the film we did not stay for. Truthfully, it's a spoiler, I wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. So that led into the actual film, and then would we say it was about 20 to 30 minutes of content that is not in the actual story? Am I thinking 20?
At least.
Yeah.
I'd say at least 20 to 30 minutes.
A significant chunk. It was enough for me where, like, I just read the comic, like, for the first time today. Yeah, and so... When we were watching it, I genuinely thought, like, they were playing the wrong thing or something. I was like, this is not... Like, what? I was like, what is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
I almost thought it was kind of like, oh, you think you're getting one thing, but no, we're going to give you this because I don't even know. It's new content. You'll like it. But no.
Well, I think there's two reasons. One is because the actual Killing Joke story is short and they wanted to beef it out, which to me is, I don't think you needed. I would have still saw this if this was 45 minutes. You know, it was 35 minutes. Not every movie has to be, like, over an hour. Like, if your movie is whatever it is, that's what it is. And people would have gone to see The Killing Joke, whether it was half an hour, 2 hours, like, it has a fan base. Like, our theater wasn't full, but there was enough people there that, like, I was happy they screened it. It wasn't that full at all, really. But, like, other markets are going to see it. So, one, they're trying to make it longer, which to me, just show the movie and then show Mark Hamill's thing, and then show the other thing, then show some special features if you want to make it longer. But this whole Batgirl thing was not necessary. And two, before you start, the other reason is because this book for years has been hailed with controversy about they hate how the book handles Barbara Gordon. Lots of people do. I don't. There's lots of people that don't, but there's lots of people that do feel it's controversy. They don't like how they handle Barbara Gordon, and they use a woman as like a plot device. So the writer's idea that they said before this came out months ago that they beefed up Barbara Gordon's role was to make her a stronger character and to give an add to the story. And I feel like they did like a whole 180 and did not and did
the
even
exact opposite.
Yeah, and made it worse. Like to me, if you didn't, I don't have a problem with the book because what happens to Barbara, I feel like it's not at the expense of a woman. I think it's just showing how evil the Joker is and the lengths he'll go to this certain time. But I feel like if you really didn't like that, you would hate this. And for myself, I hate this, and it's skipping ahead. But the thing that sticks with me and it burned in my eyes was the sex scene on the roof. Mm-hmm. Not only there's so much going on wrong with that scene, and first of all, just to say that like Batman and Batgirl should not be related, like romantically linked at all. It's something that's been done by once with this game. The same guy that writes this, who wrote the animated series, put them together for a while. Lots of people hated that, so of course, Bruce Timm, I hate you for that. But then two, she's in the story a 17-year-old girl, and he's like late 40s.
Yeah.
I do think for this adaptation, though, they did make her older as she had a job and she was living on her own. Mm-hmm. However, it just wasn't good. No. And it's supposed to be a mentor relationship and not this weird... They made her actually extremely annoying. Oh, yeah. And, like, it wasn't empowering at all. No. I wouldn't find, like, her character being a woman empowering the way she was portrayed. She was actually just came across as being annoying and kind of, like, a know-it-all bitch. So...
And it wasn't even just her character in particular. It was, like, the other sort of villain dude in that segment who was just like constantly making like weird sexual innuendos and jokes and
he
stuff like that.
He literally says, because she's mad and beating him one time, he says, is it your time of the month? Yeah. And that's where even the theater we were at kind of let out a groan. You could hear it was like, it was groan and laughter because it was like, it was so outrageous. And
if you're trying to portray women in a more positive light, that is probably like the absolute worst thing you can say, in my opinion, as a woman. And I feel like there was just multiple stuff, and like that whole thing
like
with
the way you're building her up is like the only thing they, I guess, added to her character was that she wanted to be with Batman. Yeah, which is just like dumb. And then you see like her seeing couples in the streets. You know,
oh yeah, and that's like just constant like she sees multiple couples about like a needy girl, and then at one point she just like. This guy's like, oh, we need some space, blah, 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 and then she just takes him and throws him, and it's like, first of all, that's illegal, and second of all, like, he wasn't, like, hitting her or pushing, he was just like, hey, I don't want to be in this relationship, and she just came off like a stereotypical, and that's why I didn't like there's a gay character in this, and they wrote him stereotypical. He at one point just says, like, oh, being gay is so much better, pretty much, and I'm not saying, like, that, I'm not saying whatever the lines are, I'm just saying the way they wrote it was terribly wrong, like, the way they really presented everybody in that first half an hour to me. Even Batman, to a sense, was just like, even just little stuff like him showing up with a coffee was just like, it felt like head scratching the whole time, and it felt like...
Well, it's like they tried to write a gay man and a woman, and they clearly didn't get any input from a gay man or a woman because it was all extremely stereotypical.
But I don't believe that because the voice actress says she said that this would do justice to Batgirl. I feel like this is one.
She's an idiot.
I would kind of agree.
Like,
it's
dear Lord.
Oh, and sorry, I forgot to go back to that sex scene. The third thing is she rips off her mask and her cape and everything, and she's just nude on a rooftop, just unmasked. And it's like, unlike the fanboy part of me, it's like, you're taking your mask off just in public for everything, and it just seems so uncharacteristic for Batman to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to have sex on this rooftop, and it felt really cheesy. It felt like if we were watching like Batman 66, we still have seen, it'd be like something that would make sense, but this is supposed to be something that's like updated, and it's supposed to be about this book, this comic book that's super mature, and supposed to be super, like, it's known as being one of the more well-written comic books. And
the other thing for me about like it was kind of in that same scene before they went and had sex was like because earlier he was talking about like this dark abyss, you know, this place where you see this darkness, and then she was like, oh, I've seen this place, how do you not like get tempted? And that was just awful. It was like, how do you think you understand or like are even on his level in any way? And then he just was like, oh, I guess she has been there. Oh, that's cool. Like,
yeah, and
that's what. Like the Batman part of that was like really lame as well.
He was extremely cheesy. Every single line he said was just like, it almost seemed like they could be one-liners, but he was like saying like 3 one-liners in a row, and it was like.
And we're talking about the first 20 minutes, half an hour first.
Yeah,
because it's all stuff that they wrote. It's original.
We technically haven't started talking about the Killing Joke.
Yeah,
we talked about this.
Not in the original comic book came across as super like cheesy and lame, and Batman wasn't even exciting.
No,
like, it wasn't even Batman.
And this is the stuff that I hate, which people that read comics will know. Alan Moore is very, very, very like particular in his writing, and he's all about the character and the storytelling. And there are so many just random fight scenes thrown throughout the thing. Like when he pulls up to the circus in the book, he just goes in the circus and goes to the Joker. He has this lady fight with the fat lady. He has this fight with this lady with the knives and the little people.
Yeah, those characters.
Yeah, and it was which most of those characters are not really in the book. If so, they're just in the background. They're not even in this dance number later on. But it's like he fights them, and then I just don't understand how at the end it's emphasized that Batman is thinking about killing Joker, because in Killing Joke he doesn't kill people, but he's thinking about it. Yet in this movie he just kills one of the little people.
Yeah,
there's a
spike pit.
Yeah, there's a spike pit. Batman almost falls down. This little person starts jabbing him. He takes him and
also
throws him
when
down
he
the pit.
Drove into that guy, I feel like that might have just straight up
killed him.
But
that was still the first part.
That was the first. Yeah, that was my part. I jumped over. So
first half.
We'll round up the first half, because I just feel like with the first half and everything else in the Killing Joke, and that's why I was talking about the Killing Joke part, is everything that was added was the weakest part of this. And I don't
100%.
And some of the Killing Joke stuff I feel like wasn't even done the grace, but that was just all weak, and it felt tacked on. It wasn't even something that they added, and you're kind of like, oh, that helps. Like it just. And honestly, that first 20 to 30 minutes was actually just boring. Because I didn't care about this Paris guy. I didn't care about Batgirl because she was just being a stereotypical, like, whiny girl. Batman was just being a stereotypical, like, jock kind of dude. Like, he didn't feel like Batman for the most part in that 20 to 30 minutes. And then he kind of did in Killing Joke, but then it would go, like, back and forth.
Well, even, like, the thing is, right, that we talked about how long that part was, like, maybe 30 minutes. So by the time you actually get to the story, your mood is already deflated, Travis, right? Like it's
completely.
You're already kind of out of it, right?
I am gonna watch this again, but I'm gonna watch it from the point of when the Killing Joke starts.
Yeah, like you don't actually need any of that. You take that out, and you take like the ending scene with her, and it's
completely unnecessary. Like completely unnecessary, especially for people who are going because they are fans of the comic and like. We've all read the comic, so we're going expecting to see that. We didn't need to see that 20 to 30 minutes. That was basically just a waste of my time.
Oh, yeah.
I could have been at home in bed by now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the funny thing how, like, to give an example, I didn't talk to everybody in the theater, but when the movie started, everyone was clapping because it was, like, about to start. It was like, oh, it's starting, and everyone clapped. It ended, there was one guy that went... And then he stopped because no one else was clapping. And it was that sense of, like, I don't know. I think
we saw at least one guy walk out.
Yeah, I think there's a few people that probably liked him there, but it was this general sense of, like, either people that didn't know, like, it's like, let's say a guy that read the comic book and his girlfriend that didn't like it. I heard one girl say that was awful, and then it just looked like a lot of disappointed people. I don't know, I'm just going off of, like, facial expressions, but it wasn't like when you leave a movie, even if when we left BVS, personally for myself, you could tell there's certain people that really liked it. I look around, okay, but with this, it was just like this deflated of, like, really disappointment. Obviously we'll probably talk about again, but is there anything in particular in the first 20, 30 minutes we need to talk about that I'm missing? Like, I just feel like, honestly, like, they made Batgirl a horrible, horrible character. I just don't know how anyone would find... And I find it, like, a shame and awful that they said this was supposed to help the character, and I feel like this did so...
That's so disappointing.
It's so bad.
It just shows that the writers are completely out of touch. Like, they have no idea what's going on with society, with women's rights... in general.
And even
it kind of reminds me of like when we were reviewing The Do-Over, unfortunately, where we just felt like it was like the jokes were dated and stuff like that, right?
Completely outdated.
And even if this was like, oh, this took place in the 80s, and they'd say that, it kind of would almost make a bit more sense. It wouldn't, but back then,
exactly,
it would, but it's like they said it,
they didn't say,
but they insinuated it was present day with the phones and everything like that. Like, it looked like present day, so it wasn't like this thing of like, nowadays...
They even had a guy with a man bun in there. It was definitely, like, present
Yeah,
day.
like, you couldn't fall back and be like, oh, the reason it was like that because that's what it was like back in the 60s or 70s. They don't have that crutch. It's like, today is much different. And, I agree with the do-over. Like, it felt like that at times where it's like, this joke is really inappropriate for the time. But, yeah, is there anything on that 20 to 30 minutes?
Shame on you, writers.
Yeah,
shame on you.
I'm sure something will pop up. And then it started, the Killing Joke, because it literally felt like they made the Killing Joke, and it was too short. Because literally after the Batgirl stuff, it goes to black for like 5 seconds, and then it starts the Batman in a crime scene. So it literally felt like they made that, and they're like, we should... Oh,
it was completely disjointed, for sure.
Oh, yeah, and it was just like, he's at this crime scene, which is not in the book, but whatever. They had to, add it.
Even the illustration of it all was completely different. And I get that they pulled a lot of the illustration from the comic and got their inspiration from that. There's differences. I'm not going to say that, but you can tell that that's where they were influenced by. But that first part, that whole Batgirl part was completely different style of illustration, and so it was very disjointed. That just added to it. That it's like it almost seemed like you were watching one mini episode of an Batman animated show, and then you were watching a different mini episode of a different series.
Well, I was almost worried when he was at that crime scene that was going to be like a different story, because that crime scene's not in the Killing Joke.
That's one.
So I was really worried that it was going to be like the Batgirl thing, and then he'd have like another thing with the villain, and then he'd get the Killing Joke. I was really worried for a second, and then he went to the jail. But to touch on, because I might forget it, it's late, but when you said about the illustrations, I feel like some of the shots were similar, but I feel like I didn't like that the animation to me didn't actually really fit the comic book at all. Even though stuff like the flashbacks they gave a certain color to, which it clearly in the comic books it's black and white, and then everything that's red is red when it's black and white. But it's like they decided to do this like kind of browny like tan thing, and like
sepia.
Yeah, like all right, but like I didn't like it.
Sepia.
And it was just to me when you're looking at a movie, I understand when they change stuff, but this is an animation where they draw or they create, and it's like this is the perfect opportunity to take a shot right of the comic book and put it there, and it's just like...
Well, the super fans would love that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, and for me, like, I'm not going to go through all the big ones, but it's just something little, like, at the beginning when Batman's walking through the jail cells and you see Harvey Dent. In the comics, his face is up against the bars and he's like this, but they have this thing where his arm's scratching, and it's like, I know it's a little thing, but when it comes... If it's a live-action movie, it's like, okay, I maybe understand whatnot. Yeah. Maybe they didn't want to cast an actor, they just want an arm, blah, blah, blah. But with animation, you can literally create that exact same image from the comic book, and that's what I found as a person who, this is my favorite graphic novel of all time, and read it so many times. There were so many little things of, like, why wasn't that changed, or like why wasn't it was just certain little shots, and it's like it's animation. You physically create it, I have the book beside me. You look, does that shot look like it? You look at the book. It's right there. It's not in your mind, and it's just so frustrating. I just want to say when you brought the illustration, and it's like the colors for me were off, and even just little stuff like Joker's hair was just pointy instead of curly, and it was like little stuff that in live action I throw away because I understand.
There was even some things that like when you bring to the theater, so it's like classic Batman, like dark, and then it would just go to a really bright shot. Oh, that! And like I had to like look away sometimes, and Liam, who was watching with us, he's like, "Damn, that's fucking bright!" Like, it's
And then the Killing Joke starts. I think, I can just say, like, for me, like, it's all right because, like I said, they did still add a lot of stuff in there, a lot of just random fight scenes with Batman, like fighting goons that were not in the book, and it's just like, we didn't need that. Like, the main thing about the Killing Joke for me has always been about, like, the character study of both characters, where this was just like, we've gone, like, 15 minutes without Batman punching somebody, and it happens, and there was some good stuff, like, when Batman, one point where he's like, I'm going to count to 10, and he goes 1, 9, and the guy's like, okay, like, there's a few moments that I kind of like that were new, but the majority, it's like 2 for every 10 maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the majority of them were all pointless. The Killing Joke stuff was, I don't know, it was good, but it didn't, I guess my biggest thing was I wanted this to feel like I was watching the comic book on screen, and even some shots were the same, it didn't feel like the comic book on screen for me. Like, it was just... There
was moments where it did, but then it lost it.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if that was the added scenes or if that was just a certain direction it went. But yeah, I just can't really comprehend how hard it is for animation and a picture, you know? I just feel like that's my biggest thing. I never felt like it was fully the Killing Joke, and like you said, Dylan, after the 3 minutes I was already deflated, but I'm like, okay, when this starts, it's gonna pick me up, you know? And it didn't. It never really did, you know, like, and there's moments, and I'd say, like, the voice acting was great, you know, like, Mark Hamill does a great job, Kim Conroy's Batman, like, the voice acting's not the problem. When he's saying all his Joker speeches, those were the only moments where I felt like it was Killing Joke, because he's saying all the speeches that I know, and it's a Joker voice. It's like, oh, okay, this is great, but then
for me, I mean, I've just read it once, but I did read it today. A lot of it seemed like it was just, like, word for word. Was it pretty much the same?
For the stuff that was Killing Joke, it was, and that was good. It was like the shots were a little different, but the speeches and the dialogue was good. And yeah, but then, like, even though I was saying when they put Gordon on the carousel, they have this weird scene where they're judging Batman about the law or something like that. Remember they put the wig on him? And that's not in the book. It was like, it was just this weird, it was just a lot of unnecessary stuff added, you know? It's just, I couldn't, like, it's hard, and it sounds like I'm retreading, but that's really what it is. Like, it is, like, you get the Killing Joke, but it looks like this different version of it, and then you got, like, all this stuff added in, and then...
I do think that it has to have been added in for timing, right?
Yeah,
like, they wanted
they
wanted to stretch it out, they wanted to elaborate on it, but for something like this, which is so, like, revered, it's, like, a classic, I guess, like, it's not, you don't need to add anything.
No.
It's... Yeah.
It even like just I remember when I was watching it, like it didn't seem right, like the timing of it, like the spacing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
the pacing too.
The pacing, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Like just the way, like the transformation of Joker from like a regular dude to like this evil creature, like it didn't make sense to me, you know. The pacing was.
Are you saying in the book or in the movie?
In the movie.
Okay.
Like in the book, everything. Like, it was very good when I was reading it.
It felt natural, kind of.
Yeah, it did, but in the movie, it just, it didn't sync up.
Even for me, like, that classic scene, like, I'm wearing the tank top right now, like, the part where he turns into the Joker,
that particular
rushed.
scene was very,
like,
very weird.
Yeah, like, it felt really rushed, like, he gets in the chemicals, you see him laughing from behind most of the time, and they go in on his face, and even then, like, that's the thing that bugs me, like, it's not fully, like, colored the right way, like the pages.
That part bothered me because his hair like didn't even look green.
No, and that's, I mean, it's just...
Well, even in the book too, doesn't he like... he doesn't... Because in the movie he like slips into like some bleach thing. In the book, doesn't he jump into like a...
He jumps into the river.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he doesn't... In this one, he like just slips over the edge into a vat of chemicals.
Yeah.
But in the
No, I think
book, I'm pretty sure he
I
just
thought he
jumps
jumped right
to
in.
try and avoid Batman or something, and the river is filled with chemicals.
Yeah.
No, because what happens is he says, don't come any closer or I'll jump, but he does slip.
Oh.
He does slip, but he's starting to jump, and it's because Batman goes to get him, I think.
No, I'm pretty sure he just
To me, it looks like he like made the decision to jump.
He makes the
and
decision
so I didn't
to
like
jump.
that trend.
And
like
he's
in the
not
movie,
jumping into the chemicals. He's just jumping into the river. But because the river's so polluted, so they added that part, which I can.
Which some people have kind of retconned a bit. They kind of do that because it's like they try to make it like Batman's fault a little.
I was going to say, and I can understand to add the chemicals to an extent because maybe your average fan isn't. Like, people who haven't seen it are going to be like, well, he just jumped into the river. That doesn't mean anything. But, so at least they, like, really, like, explain that, no, he jumped into chemicals,
obvious,
this is what he comes... And which is, I guess, acceptable. But, it's just...
Well, I mean, because even for me, like, I'm still pretty new to comic books. I've only read a few. So, like, when I was reading that, not everything made perfect sense. Like, I was a little confused sometimes. But in the movie, it was, like painfully obvious, I guess you could say. But yeah, I didn't like that change in particular. I like in the comic book how he made the decision to jump, and then in the movie he just like tripped on his cape. It's like
Well, and the thing that's I mean, I'm just like
I'm lame. And then he like fell directly into a canister of chemicals, and then it was
and like that's the thing. I'm just looking at the panel, and like you look at all the color in that classic shot, and that's the thing. That's the other thing. Like the movie, almost like it's the theme with DC, but it felt dark. And where you look at stuff like these, like I'm sorry for you people that can't see, but it's like everything looks like even Batman. Like you look at his blue, he was super dark blue in the movie, you know. And it's just like it's
he definitely wasn't even blue.
Yeah, like the content is dark, but the actual like the book is like really bright colors and really like kind of beautiful in a way. But the movie,
not enough to hurt your eyes though, like the movie.
Yeah, not like that. But then the movie, it just felt like it was all like those colors, but dimmed down by 5, you know. And that's what it was really
like they put a filter over top of it.
Yeah, and that's what was really disappointing. Do you guys have any other points? Like, I don't think there's too much to talk about because, like, obviously, like, Reddit, you've known the story. Do you? And I guess I can say, Dylan, because Emily's read it a few times. Dylan, if you hadn't read this today, do you think you would have found this enjoyable at all? That's my thing. Is like, I wish I would have. Kirkland saw it with us, but he couldn't cast. I'll have to ask him next time because he's the only one that was there that hadn't read it ever. And after he's like, I think I need to read that. I'm like, so that's good, but like, I just don't like.
I don't know. I think it definitely would have been a different experience because, for me, it was like that first 20 to 30 minutes was just like, I was thinking, oh, maybe this is from a different comic, like before this, and like maybe they're just giving some backstory or something. But it was just bad, so I was like, all right, well, that's kind of lame. And then, I mean, I don't know. I think the actual Killing Joke story I still would have been good with because like they didn't change a whole lot, right?
No.
And some of the changes weren't that good, but like overall, it's still a good story, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like with the changes within the Killing Joke, if you hadn't have seen that first 20 to 30 minutes, you would have been like, okay, whatever, they added a couple changes, you might not be the happiest
it wouldn't have been
this,
as severe.
but it wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have been as angry and frustrated as you were, but because you had to sit through this, like, extra backstory that was so unnecessary and so out of touch.
If it would have helped, too, I would have been fine with it. Like, it would have made me care whatnot. Like, I already care about Batgirl, and I guess I feel like they were trying to piece some people that consider the Killing Joke as, like, this really offensive thing, but it's like, I feel like that is super more offensive, but it's like, okay, if they added even depth to her that I liked, it wouldn't have felt bad. Like, the pacing felt off, and then it was like, the villain got away like 3 different times. Like, they met him, and then he got away, and then there was the boat, and he got away, and then they got to the final fight scene. It was like, I don't care about this Paris guy. He's not from the comics that I know of. If he's some Maris, like, it was just this mind. Like, it just felt like, like you said, it felt like an episode that, like, if you bought this, it's like, oh, you got a bonus episode of Batgirl, and it's like, okay. Even then, if this was advertised as like a different film, but it's like,
well, because the thing, I guess we've kind of talked about most things, but. Even after, I guess, a little bit of the credits, they play another scene with her, too.
Yeah.
Where she's, like...
She's becoming Oracle in the comic. She ends up being, like, in Bruce Wayne's ear to tell him, like, oh, like, she does information
but,
and stuff like that.
The way it translates, to me at least, who doesn't know that, is that, like... So it starts with Batgirl, and then it ends with her. So now she's kind of like the main character of the Killing Joke, right? And so it's like, well, that's just wrong.
Because in the comic, Batman's not even the main character.
No, not really.
I know, exactly. I remember that's when I was just talking to Travis after I just read it today. I was like, man, Batman's really not in that, like, at all.
Yeah.
Even, right? He's like...
Yeah, and that's why I was so jarring.
And like, even in the movie, like, Batman would feel like the second main character. Like, Joker comes third in this movie, which
it feels like that.
Big problem, obviously.
Yeah, it feels like it should be a bit more from Joker's perspective. And even if it's Batman's, like, the way... Because he introduces us to this whole, like, the plot in the book by going to the jail, but then in the book, Joker takes over right away. And yeah, you're kind of right now that you put it that way, that he feels like the third character, and that's, like, you go in expecting to see, like, this Batman, or Joker / kind of Batman story with Batman attached to it, but then this Batgirl thing's tagged on, and...
Yeah.
Emily, do you have any, I guess, final thoughts?
Just, if
And
you
a
are
rating, if you wanna give them.
if you are going to watch it, just watch the second half. Don't watch that first half unless you really want to punish yourself.
I actually think you should watch the first half to see how
But
bad
maybe
it is.
just watch the second half first, and then if you have the inclination, go back and watch the first half.
If you want some more...
Go back and watch the first half.
If you want some more Batgirl portrayed poorly?
I don't know, I just honestly feel like if I had not seen that first half and had only seen the second half, I would have been a lot happier with the fact that I'm up this late.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be as upset.
That's fair. Dylan, overall thoughts?
Overall, I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yep.
I think it was just because what I really liked about... Because I'm a very limited Batman fan. Like, I've only seen the Dark Knight trilogy and then Batman 66. And then I've read this, right? And a little bit of those other comics that you have given me. So, like... one thing that was interesting about The Dark Knight is that, like, the Joker has no backstory. He's just this random guy. And so that's why I really like this comic, is because you get to see, wow, there's actually, like, a reason for his madness, right? But the movie just butchered the story so much.
Yeah.
And made him, like, not even important anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was really bad.
No, I'd have to tend to agree. Like, there's been a lot of movies come out this year that have been bad and, like, I've been disappointed with. I honestly have to say I think like just calling on the nose right now that this is probably my most disappointing movie of the year. And maybe of my life, to be honest. Like, I'm not even joking, because it's like, with BVS, we talk about it all the time, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's their original story that they've taken things from comics. But this, to me, is something that should be so easy of, hey, we're adapting a story that is not even that long, too. No. It's a 46-page book, so it's not even that long. So I thought, this is... And they've done good things before. People that have seen The Dark Knight Returns, it's phenomenal animation. Like, it's they've killed it before. So when I heard they were doing this, I'm like, this is going to be the best one. It's going to be great. And to me, this is one of the worst ones they've ever done. I'm going to, as of right now, give it a 5. I was almost going to give it a 4, but I'm going to give it a 5 because at the end of the day, Killing Joke stuff is still good. I do want to watch it again, starting without the half, but like, just some bullet points. The first 20 minutes, half an hour is brutal, awful. Mm-hmm. The Batgirl, what they do to Batgirl, to me, is horrendous, more than what actually happens to her in The Killing Joke. I hate that her and Batman have sex on a rooftop for many reasons. Many reasons that I could literally probably do an hour podcast. To me, it's just not right. That's not the relationship that ever is. Batman and Batgirl are supposed to be kind of a father-daughter, big brother, big sister sort of relationship, and that's not what it is. And it came off super cheesy that they fought, like the classic action movie, they fought and then fell on each other and started to fuck. And it's like, that's the thing I hate, that Alan Moore, that would never happen. It feels like a dumbed down, like Abomination version of The Killing Joke for me. It feels like this weird blender of stuff that's not really what Alan Moore would write or what The Killing Joke is at its core. And it's very frustrating. I'm actually very angry at this whole thing because it's my favorite graphic novel, and I was looking forward to this so much. And to me, it's kind of awful. I'm giving it the 5. I'm going to wait for a rewatch. I'm definitely going to talk about this again because this is going to be, like, I'm not going to be crapping on BVS when I talk about bad movies. Like, this is it for me. Like, I'm severely disappointed. The panels, the art did not do it for me. Sorry to say your thing before I just finish off. Don't want to backtrack too much, but in regards to the sex scene, is that the only reason why it's rated R? I would say some of the violence. How did it get the R rating? I'd say some of the violence, maybe because some of the semi-nude photos of Barbara. But that's it? I guess. Like, I think the one curse word they used was bitch. Yeah. And... like, I didn't even know this was rated R. I don't think it deserves a rating. I don't think it deserves an R rating whatsoever. I was expecting before they even have sex, they zoom out to a gargoyle. Like, you don't. Yeah, exactly. You see her in a bra, which is it's a cartoon, first of all, and I hate how easily she can get that caution. Oh no, that's definitely doesn't deserve an R rating. Not at all, because it just sparked in my mind when you said like they fucked on a rooftop. I'm like, but. Like, we didn't see that. The gargoyle is the only one who saw it. Yeah. It was just, I don't think it deserved the R rating. Yeah. But yeah, bring that up now. Just to close out, it's one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen. I'm very frustrated and very angry. This to me should have been a knockout from day one. Like, to me, this is just super easy. I don't understand it. The added scenes, not only just Batgirl ones, added scenes in general are not good. Batman is not good I'm not a big fan of him killing, but it's just like, the story, even BVS, they say, oh, he's a bad guy. I don't like that, but okay, he's a bad guy. This one, the story at some points hinges on him not killing, and he just randomly kills a person by throwing them in spikes. Like, this adaptation of The Killing Joke has so many holes and so many problems with it. I would recommend it if you're a fan to see it, because you have to see it. I'm happy I saw it to see it, but at one point I was thinking about going out to Seattle. We were going to drive to Seattle because Canada didn't have it. I would have been so mad. I would have been mad beyond belief if I had seen this. And you know what, like, if you think I'm being too harsh on it, please see it and let me know. Maybe I just had such high expectations, but so far, everyone that I've talked to did not like it. And that's just a small sample size. But no, it's not even like with BVS, where Taylor's Taylor, but even Kirkland was like, hey, he gave it like a 7.5. But this was like, no one I've talked to so far likes it. And even people that I've seen like online were not happy with the Batgirl thing, and now I can see why. I heard about it, I was preparing myself for the worst, and it got much worse than I thought as far as that. So I can't even say it's a solid 5. It might go lower on rewatch. Who knows? You guys have anything else to say? No. This feels like a Netflix and fail episode. Cheap plug. Check this out. It's like this is worse than the duo for me because I had like such high expectations. Like, I wanted this to be the new movie I would watch once a year. No, that's what I was going to say. Like, if you want to get your Killing Joke action on,
there's no reason you should ever choose this movie over the comic book.
Read the book.
There's no reason.
No.
Yeah.
Well, folks,
I don't even want to give it a score. I don't know what I'd give
No,
it.
you don't have to.
I feel like I would have to. I feel like I'd have to take away about 40% of the movie just to like. I don't know.
Yeah,
okay, the first half of the movie, 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
The second half of the movie, I could maybe give like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 to.
Yeah.
Just that second
Averages
half alone.
out to about 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I'm giving it a 5 because I'm going to rewatch it strictly from that one next time. And I'll get back when I get I don't know if I'll get the Blu-ray. I might wait. I'll wait for a sale because I don't know if I want to own this. Like, because for me, even the Killing Joke stuff is a little disappointing.
Don't you want to see those extras with Mark Hamill again?
Those were nice still, but just not at the time, right? Like, I want to get into the movie.
You can find those on YouTube.
You could probably find those on the Star Wars DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, that's the thing for me. Even the Killing Joke stuff, like, the coloring and everything, the panels, and, like, you even said the pacing, even that for me was disappointing. So it's not even like, I didn't really like the beginning, but that part was great. But it was, like, the whole time I was sitting like, when is it gonna start feeling great? When it start feeling like a joke? So
I'll drop a 3 on it.
Drop a 3.
2.5 actually. 2.5.
I just feel like it has to be rated as 2 separate things because it was just.
It feels like
so
very disjointed.
Yeah. And I would just like to say, shame on the writers. I
100%
fuck you
agree.
to you.
Yeah, a great way to end Comic Con week, folks. On a nice
This was my free Adam ticket, so that's like the redeeming quality of this.
Do you guys have the Adam app? Check it out.
Yeah, I think it's just Canada, so those Canadian listeners. Well, folks, that's it. That's for Comic Con. And that's for the Killing Joke. Find us. Search Google, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, the whole shebang. Let me know in the comments, please. Legitimately, people that have read this, people that haven't read this, anybody. Like, let me know in the comments. That was the thing with BVS when me and Liam reviewed the Ultimate Cut. We got 14 dislikes. I have no problem with that. Leave a comment why. Tell me why. Other than just like, I hate that you don't like the movie. I have a feeling it's going to be different. But still, like, let me know. I want to know someone out there that loves it. Because this, for me, like, I can see why someone loves BVS. I don't know if I can see why someone loves this. So, thank you very much. We'll be back this weekend, Saturday as always. Mm-hmm. It will definitely not be boring.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in.
Bye.
Okay.